Welcome everyone to our African real estate masterpiece.
After watching this video, you can use our blueprint to make up to 100% ROI yearly.
So, you're thinking about investing in real estate in Nigeria's Delta State. It's an exciting prospect, for sure, but let's be honest, it can feel like you're stepping into a jungle. It's an environment that is absolutely buzzing with opportunity, but it's also filled with hidden traps. So today, let's grab our map and our compass and really figure out how to navigate this high-risk, high-reward landscape together. For a lot of people, just the thought of buying land here brings up this mix of excitement and, just sheer terror. You hear these amazing stories of incredible returns, but then you also hear the horror stories, the scams, the disputes, the money that just vanishes into thin air. It is a market where being cautious isn't just a good idea, it's absolutely essential for survival. And this right here, this gets to the absolute heart of the matter. In this kind of market, the single most valuable thing isn't the land itself, it's trust. Simple as that. Because without it, every deal feels shaky, every single document seems suspect, and every promise just feels, hollow. The real challenge is figuring out who and what you can actually believe. And that fear is 100% valid. I mean, we're talking about things like fraudulent titles, where you've got multiple people who all think they own the exact same plot of land. We're talking about bitter, long-running land disputes between families and entire communities. And of course, let's not forget the bureaucratic nightmare of just trying to get anything officially registered. It really is a minefield. So how in the world do you navigate all of this? Well, the smartest players are starting to shift their strategy. They're moving away from hype and focusing on help. Instead of just selling you a dream, they're de-risking the entire process by focusing on one simple but really powerful tool: education. They're turning all that confusion into clarity. Okay, let's take a classic example that trips up so many people. You hear these two terms thrown around all the time, sometimes like they mean the same thing. But trust me, understanding the difference between them is one of the first, most crucial steps to protecting your investment. So what's the real deal here? Think of it this way. The contract of sale, that's the promise. It's the initial agreement where one person says, "I agree to sell," and you say, "I agree to buy," all under these specific terms. It's the handshake. But the deed of assignment, that is the proof. That's the powerful legal document that officially transfers the ownership from their name to yours. One is the intention, the other is the final legally binding action. And then there's this other critical piece of paper, the registered survey plan. Now, this document doesn't prove who owns the land, it proves what the land is. It's like the official map, showing your exact boundaries, your coordinates. This is the document that prevents those nightmare scenarios down the road where your neighbor suddenly builds their fence on what you thought was your land. And this whole educational approach is also used to reframe things that might at first sound negative. Take land that's described as not yet bulldozed, which basically means it's raw, uncleared bush. Instead of that being a downside, it's actually presented as a golden opportunity. For instance, a plot at Eden's Garden Estate might be $1.5 million right now precisely because it's undeveloped. But once the bulldozers come in and the infrastructure is built, that value is projected to double to $3 million. See? It's not unfinished, it's a pre-appreciation price. Now, this whole trust-based strategy isn't just for one type of buyer. It's actually applied across a whole spectrum of investment opportunities. The idea is to create a portfolio that has an entry point for almost every budget and every ambition. And you can see how this strategy plays out across a multi-tiered portfolio. It starts with something like entry-level agricultural plots, which are perfect for land banking. Then it moves up to mid-tier estates that are still in pre-development, aimed at savvy investors. And it scales all the way up to massive commercial parks for big corporations. For example, your journey can start at just 750,000 naira. That gets you an entry-level plot at a place like Otega Farms. This is really targeting those patient investors who are looking for long-term appreciation. But from there, it scales up pretty significantly. You could be looking at a premium, lifestyle-focused plot in an estate like Jane Legacy, which might go for around 15 million naira. Here, the investment isn't just in the land, it's in security, amenities, and a fully serviced community. And then you get to the top end of the market, we're talking about industrial-scale investments. A plot at the Owaritse Industrial Park, for instance, which has its own jetty access for heavy industry, can command a price of 400 million naira. I mean, that's catering to a completely different class of corporate investor. Okay, but being educated and having options doesn't mean you're immune to risk. Not at all. It's time for a bit of a reality check because beyond the specifics of any single project, there are these deep systemic dangers that every single investor has to be aware of. These are the kinds of risks that can wipe out an investment overnight. And it doesn't matter how good your paperwork is. We're talking about violent, generations-old communal land disputes, like the one between the Supply Okbe and Itsekiri communities. We're talking about government bulldozers just showing up to demolish structures built on land that was illegally acquired or earmarked for public use. And of course, the rampant corruption that can stall or even invalidate your entire registration process. On top of all that, you have to understand the full cost because the sticker price is never the final price. Statutory fees for things like surveys, registration, legal consent can easily add another 10% on top of the property's value. That is a huge, often overlooked expense that you absolutely have to budget for. So this brings us to a really crucial point. You have to secure the highest form of legal title possible. And in Nigeria, that is the Certificate of Occupancy, or C of O. But look at this staggering statistic. Fewer than 1 in 10 landlords in the entire country actually have one. This leaves the vast majority legally vulnerable to disputes and even government reclamation. Getting your CFO isn't a luxury, it's your armor, it's your shield. So, after trekking through the jungle, understanding the tools, and facing the real dangers, what does this all boil down to? Well, it requires a fundamental shift in your mindset, from being a passive buyer to becoming an active, critical investigator. And here's your takeaway framework. First, question everything. Verify every single document independently. Second, understand the full cost, including all of those hidden fees. Third, know the specific local risks, from community disputes to future government plans. And finally, and this is the most important one, always choose education over hype. In a market this complex, the smartest investor isn't the one who takes the biggest risk. It's the one who is the best informed. And that, right there, is the only real path to success.